Alright, hey everybody, welcome back for another Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 video. Today we're going to do another video in helicopters. The last video I did was the first time I had flown helicopters in the simulator, and I kind of did it live. I showed you what I was kind of getting for my first day running helicopters in the simulator, and I have since discovered a few faults that I had made. I included those faults in the comment section so that comment section of the last video, so that those of you who watched the last video and hear me complaining about some of the things that I didn't think were quite right, I added in the comment sections what I was doing wrong that made those things not seem quite right. So that said, here we're going to have another go and see if the helicopter feels better in the simulator than it did last time we flew it. So first thing I want to show is we'll go to the assistance options. We can see that for piloting I have all the helicopter assistance off. The next thing is we'll go to controls and we'll make sure that my T1600 is in helo. So I made a separate profile and configure the controls for helicopters. And the specific thing that matters there is when I'm flying airplanes, I reduced the sensitivity on the controls down to I don't remember what it was, but for helos, last time I flew it, I had that sensitivity on the cyclic stick tuned down like it is there. So I since discovered that that was the case. So I gave it a straight line. That way it'll be nice and sensitive, perfectly linear. And I'm hoping that that's going to change our control touch in the aircraft and make it feel more realistic. Another couple things that I mentioned in the last video is when I was doing auto rotations, I had noticed that the cushion with collective right at the touchdown portion of the auto rotation, it didn't quite feel realistic. It felt like we were actually ballooning up and lifting off the ground, like there was too much inertia in the rotor system. That might be because even though I took the throttle to idle, I did leave the governor on, so I don't know if the governor is trying to compensate at all. So in this video, we're going to take the governor off every time we're going to do an auto, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so let's go back here. I don't think I changed anything, so I'm just going to say no. That's not what I want. Resume. Okay, so we're here at John Wayne. I'm not going to be talking to anybody on the radios. We're just going to go for a flight. So I'm going to start by popping out the panels. So I'm opening up the pop-out manager. Now we right now are in. So here's my pop-out manager. We right now are in the Asobo version of the aircraft. After this flight, we're going to switch over to the HCG version of the aircraft, and we're going to give that a try, and I'll show you the differences between the two, and I'll compare the two in terms of control touch and see if they feel any different. The big difference that I see is the avionics, which is why for now I prefer to keep flying the HCG version versus the Asobo version. So yeah, we'll get to that. So I'm going to start the pop out here. You're going to see it's going to pop out in the Asobo version. It's going to pop out the engine indications monitor, and it's going to pop out the GTN 430. It's going to place both of those. So now in the aircraft, I should have the ability to use my knobster. So like our heading bug here, we can tune our heading bug, and we should be able to click touchscreen functions like the map here. We can go back. We can set a flight plan, go back. Now the bezel, I just used a stock bezel, and the bezel doesn't actually work. But we can tune our radios. Although I'm noticing the only thing we can't do is it's going to be hard to type in a radio frequency. So we can flip-flop between the two, but we actually can't tune a frequency. So that's something to note. I don't know Yeah, there's really not any option for me to change the frequency there. That's interesting. So, can I do that from here? Probably. Oh yeah, so that works. So I need to get the bezel working then, because that would be this knob right here, but it's clearly not doing anything. So that's something I'm gonna have to work on still. Again, this is the Asobo version. I'm pretty sure the other aircraft, the HCG version, is not gonna have that issue. So anyways, we also have head tracking working, so we'll be able to look around while we're flying. With all that said, I think we're about ready to go. So we're going to come up to a hover here. I'm going to make sure my engine's at 100%. Rotor's in the green. All right, power's coming in, and we can see the power coming in on the monitor there. See if we can hover better than we did last time. There's a 10-foot hover. Nope, that was maybe a 1-foot hover. So I'm going to say right off the bat that this feels better than the last time I flew, and I absolutely think it's the sensitivity curves that I had set. So the fact that my cyclic stick was non-linear, I think I was fighting that curve. So what would feel like, okay, I need to push the stick a certain amount in one direction, the fact that I was fighting a curve that was exponential, the helicopter would behave exponentially with the inputs that I made. So that absolutely makes sense. So let's get over this yellow line. We're going to follow this yellow line straight ahead. We're going to hover forward at the pace, like you usually do in a helicopter. You hover at the pace of what you would consider a brisk walk. So we can look out our left and right, and we should see the terrain around us going by no faster than it would go by if you were walking this line at what you would consider a brisk pace. Of course, I hit head tracking and it screws me up. All right, so tail's going to come to the right. I got to increase collective as I do that to compensate for the loss of torque, which makes us want to descend. Once again, I want to continue hovering forward at a brisk pace, or a brisk walk. Trying to maintain about a 10-foot hover here. So another thing we did in the last video is we tried to do pointing at the target at this 20. So I'm going to act like I have a gun off the nose of the helicopter, and I'm going to try to keep that gun pointing at the 20 and hover around the 20. And we're trying to see if... Okay, so right there I have the pedal to the floor again, and I'm running out of pedal authority. So that's probably not a controls thing, sensitivity. That's probably just the actual helicopter model. Either the model isn't correct, or this aircraft in real life, which it's more likely this aircraft in real life may not have enough tail rotor authority to execute this maneuver. Now if we go in the opposite direction, we might have more authority. So let's try that. We want to keep the nose pointing right at this 20. And as we start gaining speed, what we should find is that we require a stick forward because the centripetal force of going in a circle wants to push us backwards. Yeah, so there's definitely more pedal authority on this side, and that's based on which direction the rotor spins. Well, we used to do this in the real aircraft. I believe we used to do it to the left, and I think that's because we have more pedal authority on your right foot in that aircraft. So anyways, this is cool. So let's come back in. We're to come shoot for the 20. pointing down the runway. See if we can get stabilized at a hover. Whoa. So I'm already moving too quickly, acting like I'm confident in this helicopter when clearly I don't have the skills to show for it. Alright. Now the next maneuver we're going to do, we're going to start hovering down this line. And we're going to try to slide while we're hovering down the line. And we're going to continue into a 360-degree turn while we're hovering down the center line. We want to do this slow and controlled. Right now I'm feeling a little, not out of control, but it's not exactly the smoothest maneuver. But I think we're doing a lot better job than we did in the aircraft before. Let's try to turn the opposite direction. It's either that, or it's just because I'm going faster and flying higher now, and I'm not trying to do it as slow and controlled, and that's causing me to be able to do it better. Come on. Pedal to the left. So you notice at one point there, it speeds up a whole bunch. Alright, we're going to take off. I'm going to keep this, I'm going to keep the collective right there at 41, which is about our hover torque. You can tell we're just about at a 10-foot hover. We should be able to actually take off like this. As soon as we get above our effective translational lift airspeed, which is like 16 knots, the aircraft should jump off the ground. And I'm kind of noticing that with this aircraft, doesn't seem to want to do that. What's our airspeed right now? It's about 30 knots, so we should be hitting that by now, but we're not. It's interesting. So I'm going to call that unrealistic in this version of the aircraft. Power is coming in. Takeoff is good. Adjusting the trim so we can go hands off. We'll do a pattern. Coming to the right. We're going to shoot for 90 to 100 knots on downwind. Now what I see here is I'm pulling 107% right there, and the rotor is still in the green, so that's something to note. And what do we have for a climb rate? My VSI in this aircraft is not functioning. So that's a good thing to note. What do we got for an airspeed here? About 80 knots. And I'm pulling 99. So this Asobo aircraft is not a very fast aircraft. It looks like pulling the guts out of it. Am I still... Yeah, I'm still climbing a little bit. Of course, I can't see how fast I'm climbing because my vertical speed indicator is not working very well. But this aircraft feels underpowered compared to the HCG version. And based on what the HCG developer told me in the comment section of the last video, he actually added power to that flight model versus this one. Alright, so we're slowing down, we're coming down, we're going to be shooting for about 70 knots and 700 feet on final, or on base. So we got 70 knots there, altitude is about 500, so we're going to pull in some power and slow that rate of descent. Coming to the right. Alright, continuing that slow back because we're accelerating now. Collective is coming out. And we're going to shoot for a constant angle. So I want to head towards that 20 like there's a string off the nose of the aircraft pointing straight to the 20, and I want to ride that piece of string all the way down. And towards the end, when I start getting slow, the helicopter is going to want to drop out of the sky because we're getting below that ET effective translational lift airspeed. So I'm going to have to pull in more collective right there. I pull in more collective so that we don't fall through that constant angle that we're flying towards. What we're looking for is a 10-foot hover right over the numbers, and now we can set the aircraft down on the skids. And we should straighten ourselves out because good pilots land with their nose pointing where they want it to. Not cockeyed off to the other side. So that felt good. So I'm going to say that aircraft feels pretty good. The controls feel a lot better than they did last time I flew, and I think that's on me. We're going to see because we're going to compare it to the other version of the aircraft. So where's my mouse? You also notice that this monitor here is nothing but a carbon fiber panel, so as a result I took it off of the screen. I'm going to add it back to the screen now before I forget. Instrument panel. And the reason for that is because we don't have enough engine and flight instruments to require two panels in this version of the aircraft. Now, that is not the case with the other version. Let's head back to the main menu. Alright, world map. Once again, we're going to do KSNA. And this time, I'm actually going to throw the FPS counter up on the screen. I meant to have that up for the last one. There we go. That way you can see what the FPS is. KSNA. And we'll throw a destination in there for the heck of it. Alright, here's our liveries that we can choose from. I'm going to stick with the orange. It's a pretty cool color. Set the weather to exactly what it was for the last flight. I think I'm going to have to... I don't know if I'm going to have to reset the map. We'll see here. Is it going to place us back at John Wayne on my map? Yeah, it looks like it. Sweet. Okay. So with this aircraft... Oh, it's trying to pop out the panels again. And it's going to fail because the monitor is not where I want it to be. So what's cool about this aircraft is you can already see there's a GTN 750 here. We find that the developer also added a GTN 750 here, but we're not going to use that one. We're going to use this one. And then we also have a GTX G3X Touch. So with all of those where they're supposed to be, I'm going to hit Start Pop Out on the Pop Out Panel Manager. And it's going to pop the two panels out. It's going to place them on my display. And then you're going to notice that doesn't necessarily look right on my right side panel. So I'm going to open up Air Manager. I'm going to get rid of that panel and I'm going to bring in the 750 panel. There we go. So now we have our panel for this aircraft. Now, once again, altimeter, my knob still works and I can tune in the altimeter. I can tune in a course on the heading. I can all my touchscreen stuff works with. You can see the avionics turn off when I turn off avionics. I can turn the fuel pump on and off. This map works on the 750. Now the question is, can I tune the... Oh, I don't need to tune the radio in this aircraft. So that doesn't matter to me, that bezel doesn't work, because on this side, let's see. Oh, I didn't load up the bezel. So back to Air Manager again, and I'm going to load up the left bezel for the helicopter. There we go. So now with this aircraft, if I press home, we should go full screen. Now with this aircraft, once again, touchscreen. If we wanted to do 1248 for a, actually, what's the frequency here? A tower is 119.9. 119.9. If I put that in, Let's turn the sound back on. Options. Sound. I had it off because I was flying on Pilot Edge. Alright, and then ATIS here is 126.8. 126.8. Oops. 126.8. We can tune that in. Now I would think we should be hearing the ATIS right now, but we're not. Audio. 126. Oh, I'm sorry, 1260. 126.8 is the CTAF. 1260. Pilot error. Transfer. There it is. So touchscreen avionics is awesome. Transponder, we can type in a, if they tell us to squawk 1200, which squawk VFR 1200, we can ident. We got waypoints in there, and we can actually see on this map here. Oops. That I can pan out. You can see the class Charlie that we're in. We can pan around. Now what I noticed is that panning around, all of a sudden it disappears. But if I come back over to this side and click the panel, which would be like clicking your in the flight simulator, it brings it back up. It's like it goes to not on top or something. But that's fine. We can work our way around that. And then again, the bezels here, the home, we already saw the home button works. We can bring up the map page. Home, we can bring up the active flight plan page. But I'm just going to go full screen. And let's see, what else do we need to do? Yeah, so the only thing about this aircraft is the fact that this this panel doesn't pop out. I also noticed that these two instruments don't work. One is like a horizontal situation indicator, so we don't really need that one. I don't remember what the other one was in the other aircraft, but not a big deal. We can do without. Another cool thing I like about this aircraft is we can fly doors off. And since I like that sound, maybe we'll fly with the doors on. Alright, so we'll reset the view. So normally I would want to fly this view so that I'm not looking at a panel here and a panel in front of me. But with this aircraft, because I don't have the ability to look at my rotor torque and my my engine RPM, we can't do that. I need to be able to see these numbers here. So we kind of have to fly with that view there, which is fine because I haven't really figured out a way to get the controls to change to a different position after I do head tracking, so that's what we got. All right, let's come up. We got, so what I'm noticing there is the rotor is not in the green. Now if I adjust my throttle again, there we go. Now the governor kicks in. Okay, I guess the governor's doing what it's supposed to do. Engine in the green, rotor in the green, and we're going to pull in some power, and we'll see how this one goes. Get our nose pointing back down that yellow line, and now we can go ahead and pick up. Now that extra yaw is possible because, remember I said the developer made this aircraft more powerful than the other one? That extra yaw could be because, it could either be because I just lifted off like crap, or it could be because this aircraft's got some more power. So off the bat, it almost feels like this aircraft is a little more challenging to control than the other one. I feel like I had an easier job keeping the aircraft in one place on the other one. Since I've never flown this aircraft in real life, I can't tell you which one's more realistic. And since I've only flown each of them for I flew the other one for 5 minutes, and this one I've only flown for about 60 seconds at this point, and now I got it settled down. So I'm gonna say both of them are just fine in terms of feeling like a helicopter. I'm gonna call it operator error, pilot error on my my takeoff and ability to get it settled down. Because right now we got it settled down just fine. This is good. All right, so we're gonna keep our nose pointing down the yellow, and we're gonna come forward at that brisk pace, just like with the other one. I'm gonna do the same exact thing that I did in the other aircraft, but in this aircraft. That way we're getting a good comparison between the handling of the two. So I will say, I want to continue flying, well, having not flown this one yet to see the control touch. From avionics alone, I would prefer to be flying this aircraft because I like the 750, and especially I like the G3X Touch, because the G3X Touch to me is how you truly exterminate the mice and the keyboards from your home flight simulator cockpit. All right, we're gonna come forward just a little more, hold there, tail's coming to the right, and I pull in a little bit of collective to anticipate the aircraft wanting to dip as I take away some torque from that tail rudder. All right, we're gonna come up to the 20, and we're gonna do our little rotation move. So we got some power coming in, and we're gonna do stick to the left and right pedal to keep the nose pointing at the 20. Now again, as I speed up here, I should require some forward cyclic. And again, I'm out of right pedal. Out of right pedal. Now if I take out the collective, so if I take out the collective, the nose comes around because again, I'm reducing the torque. So we lose tail authority on spinning that direction. Now this direction, we should have plenty of tail rotor authority. I'm going to say this feels about the same in both aircraft. Come on. And let's see how fast we can go. There's there's the pedal to the floor, and we run out of pedal authority. All right, throttle's coming down, and we're going to start coming down back to the 20. Power's coming back in to slow our rate of descent. Let's see if we can touch down a little gentler than we did in the other one. So at least we didn't come crashing down, but it still wasn't pretty. All right, back down, 10-foot hover in front of the runway 20 marker. Come on, don't touch down. 10 feet, 10-foot hover. I'm thinking back to my instructors in flight school. 10-foot hover, 10-foot hover. Nose down the runway, nose down the runway. Aircraft in trim, aircraft in trim. All right, we're going to start moving forward. Again, we want about a brisk pace. And we're going to start a right pedal turn. Now, you're going to notice a point where in this rotation, all of a sudden, the speed that we're rotating at, I won't say becomes uncontrollable, but the rotation speed accelerates. And I'm sure what that is, I would have to check to see what we set the winds to. But when you do get to a point where you got the wind behind you, it has a tendency to mess with your vertical fins and your tail rotor and all the stuff you got on the tail. All right, let's try this the opposite direction. Come on. That was not the smoothest maneuver. There it goes. Yep. I think that way was equally unstable on both aircraft, and I think that's because the main rotor spins to the right, so I think that's my lower tail rotor authority side. I would have to think about it when I'm not trying to control the aircraft, but I think that's the case. All right. Once again, we're going to set the torque to about 42% or so. We should be able to hold about a 10-foot hover. We're already starting to take off here. I'm going to find out my 10-foot hover torque. Nose pointing down the runway. down the runway. About 40% there. So we should be able to hover here at 40%. I should be able to take the nose, drop the nose just a bit, so we start accelerating forward. And now when we get above between 16 and say 24 knots, that might not be specific to this aircraft, but you should all of a sudden, so right there. Notice how without pulling any more torque, all of a sudden the aircraft wants to jump off the ground. We're able to accelerate like crazy. So all I pulled in was 40% torque and we're able to take off. We were not able to do that with the other aircraft. I don't think that's pilot error on the last maneuver we did. I think that's me, or I think that's the aircraft dynamics. Alright, so we're going to pull in some more power. We're going to pull in, so in the last aircraft we were able to pull like 97% torque or something like that. In this one, when we try to pull that much torque, you can see the rotor drooping there. So I would say that's more realistic, other than the fact that you would think you should be able to pull 90% torque in this aircraft. I don't know if the red is because, if the red region of the torque percentages is because it's saying if you go into that region you are going to droop the rotor. Maybe that is what that means. Seems a little odd to me that you can't pull any more than 65% torque without drooping the rotor, but I don't know. I'll have to read the manual for this aircraft. Alright, so we're turning to the right here. Get ourselves stabilized. A little warm in here. I need to crack a window. Alright, so we're supposed to be looking for 1,000 feet. We got a little carried away there. I wonder, yeah. I was thinking, I wonder if I could crack a window, but there's no way I'm getting up from this helicopter and it's going to keep flying. Alright, where's our 1,000 feet? We're coming into it. Alright, so we'll take a look to the side. We are abeam the numbers so we can start to slow down and come down. So power is coming out. We start descending and decelerating. Coming down to 70 knots here. We're looking for about 700 feet. Oh, we're getting way slow here. Pick up some airspeed back to 70 knots. And now we dipped below 700 feet. We're going to call this a stabilized base. Here we're at 70 knots and 550 feet, close enough. Alright, now we're going to continue the maneuver. Power's coming out. And now we start to take off cyclic. We're looking for a constant angle, acting like there's a piece of string between the nose of the aircraft and that 20 there. And we're just going to follow that down. Now once again, when we drop below about 24 knots or so, we're going to feel that we start dropping through our constant angle because we got below effective translational lift. So when we get to that airspeed, I'm going to be required to pull in right there. I got to pull in some collective to stop the descent, and now we get to resume the maneuver. I just did it twice. Want to keep coming forward and down, forward and down. When we get to the 20, we want a stabilized 10-foot hover, and then we'll take it all the way to the ground. We want to be on the line with our nose pointing down the runway. Close enough. It almost felt a little bit easier in the other aircraft. And again, I don't know if it's because this aircraft has more power, but and maybe it's just in my head. I don't know. But I'll say both of them feel great. Both of them feel like a true helicopter. Nothing surprising there. I will say I like this helicopter better because of my G3X panel and the 750. Okay, it's a little more capable than the 430, so I'll take that over the 430. The only caveat to that is I really wish I had this display right here popped out. So I'm really hoping that the developer is going to be able to implement that. We'll have to see. All right, let's do a max performance takeoff here. So we're going to pull in our max available power, which with this aircraft, to not droop the rotor, we know is about 70% torque. When we get to 100 feet, we're going to nose forward to about 10 degrees nose down, and we're going to accelerate up to our takeoff airspeed, to our climb airspeed of, call it 70 knots, and then we'll start to climb away. So, power's coming all the way in, and we want to go straight up, nose pointing down the runway. Power's coming in, power's coming in, power's coming in. We want full power. Keeping the nose pointing down the runway. There's 100 feet, and the nose is coming forward. And now we should start accelerating. All right, 70 knots, and we'll continue a normal climb. We'll get the aircraft trimmed out. And I'm just going to cut this pattern short so we can come back around and do an auto. We're going to keep max power in because we want to keep the climb rate because we need 1,000 feet for an auto. But there's our 1,000 feet, so we're looking good. So I'm going to accelerate. Get the aircraft trimmed out. I'm going to look down because I want some helicopter noises. Yeah, this aircraft, so now we're doing 113 knots. The other aircraft, we were topped out at about 90. All right, we're way past where we want to be, so we're going to come to the right. Keep that turning. We're maintaining 1,000 feet here. I'm going to slow back a little because we're really cooking in terms of airspeed. Oh, I forgot to take the governor off. We got to do another pattern here. Okay. Oops. We're going to take off the governor. So now with the governor off, we'll give that a shot. Let's see, where are we? We're at 1,500 feet, first of all. Coming back to altitude. Coming to the right. Coming to the right. There we go. We want 1,000 feet. And about 100 knots, maybe 90 knots. Okay, we're looking good there. Once we got the field made and we know we can make it, I'm gonna cut the power. Okay, power is coming to idle. We lost our engine. Cyclic is coming down so that we maintain that RPM. Oh, this feels way better than in the last video. We got about 4,000 feet per minute rate of descent. Notice the rotor RPM never really came back though. Alright, we're going to start the flare. Oh, this feels so much better. And we're going to cushion ourselves. Right onto the runway, and a little slide is perfectly fine. Oops. That felt way better, way better. There was still a little, it still feels like there's a lot, there's some extra inertia in the rudder system. The hesitation when I start pulling in collective, in the real world, as soon as you start pulling collective, you're cushioning yourself onto the runway. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking that. But that felt pretty good. Alright, we're going to turn that guy back on. I can't see it. No, I don't know if it's on or not. Governor off. I guess we'll know based on what the RPM does. Yeah, I'm gonna say the governor is not on. Come on. And we're gonna destroy our engine. Alright, coming forward. And now we see it come back to 100%. Okay. Governor's on. I also don't think this governor light was working. It's still telling us the rotor RPM is a little high. Okay, now it says our rotor RPM is in the green. No, it's still saying it's on the verge of high. Yeah, I can't tell if the governor's working. We'll find out when we go to lift off. Alright. Engine's in the green. Power's coming in. 10-foot hover. And the RPM stays where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to say the governor's on. Taking off. Gonna accelerate, level accelerating down the runway, and we're gonna do a cyclic climb right at the end. Ready? Cyclic climb. Woo. Get our turn going to the right. Nice. Alright, we're going to do another auto this time, but we're going to enter it in the downwind. I'm drooping my rotor. Oh, maybe we won't do that because I forgot to turn off the governor. Alright, power's coming out, collective's coming out. We gotta make a turn back to the airfield. We got the airfield in sight. The rotor's coming back up in the green. We're looking good here. Keep that turn going. We don't want to get too slow, but we gotta get turning. We're not going to make the airfield, but we will make the highway. Actually, we can make this taxiway because there's a lot of traffic on the highway. Taxiway it is. Oh no! Wow. Not pretty. And now we don't have enough. Oh. See, that's not realistic at all. I have full collective there and we're still ballooning up. So still too much inertia in the rotor system. But did I have the governor on is the question. No, governor's off. See how it spools way up in the yellow? So now if I flick this switch back up, oh, down? Okay, but governor's back. Let's try one more. Power's coming in, coming up. know what else we should try? Like we tried in the last video, we should try a slope landing again. Yeah, here's the slope we did it on last time. Let's shoot an approach to this slope. We'll see if we can execute this better now that we have the sensitivity tuned to linear. And we're going to keep coming forward to linear instead of a parabolic curve. This slope doesn't seem so sloping anymore. I'm feeling like this is going to be way better than the last one. I'm going to go right to where the peak of this slope is. Alright, right there. Alright, so that was close. Not exactly smooth, but... Alright, there... We're trying to plant that upslope rotor, skid. Okay, maybe this won't be easier than with the last aircraft. Alright, try to get some weight on that skid. Come on. We want to get back up that slope. We want to get back up to the top where it's actually a slope. Keep sliding back down is the problem. So maybe that's not me doing a poor job. Maybe that's just for sliding. I wonder, is there a grass area we can do that on? Are there any grass slopes around? Hard to say. None of this really looks sloped. Maybe we could jump to the pinnacle right ahead instead of the slope. Watch the tail rotor on that. Oh, the main rotor, tail rotor. Wow, that was close. So clearly no easier with the sensitivity tuned to linear. Let's try it at the other slope, the other area we did. Did it here last time. All right, hover power. Kind of an interesting sound. It feels pretty realistic. As soon as we get over that pinnacle, it's like it wants to push us away from it. That feels realistic. Come on. Sound is annoying. It's like the sound reflecting off the building. Whoa, rotor system. Alright, we're taking off. We'll do one more auto and then we'll call it. Power's coming in, torque's coming in. And we just dipped to the... we're dipping the rotor RPM. Wonder what a hockey stop looks like. Nice. Well, those are cool views. That's fun. Alright, let's quit screwing around. We'll go back and do one more auto. So the airport is right there. We're going to start turning to the right. And turn off the governor. Continuing to the right. We want 1,000 feet and about 100 knots. We're getting close. Airport's right there. Alright. Get turned on final. Let's say we got it made. Throttle's going idle. We got to take the rotor out, otherwise we start to droop the... We're looking for 90 knots. We're holding that 90 knots. We don't want to accelerate too fast. And the rotor RPM never came back. It's still low RPM, so that's interesting. Normally when we're descending like this, the rotor RPM is going to start screaming through the roof. We're going to start the deceleration. Now the RPM comes back. That's interesting. And then we start the cushion. And of course we balloon up. And we cushion. And a little bit of skidding is fine. And we'll skid further if we keep the collective in. But as soon as we let the collective down, all the way to the helicopter comes back on the skids, and we stop ourselves faster. So going all the way down with the collective is like hitting the brakes. So I'm still going to say with each of the aircraft, both of them, the amount of inertia in the rudder system doesn't feel realistic. Maybe that's realistic for this aircraft, but I'm kind of thinking it's a little too much. So other than that, I think both of them feel like helicopters. I think controlling them with the sensitivity adjusted to linear is a lot easier. Yeah, my inability to do a slope or a or a pinnacle landing on both of these videos is a reflection on my skills, having not hovered a helicopter in 3 years, combined with the fact that the simulator is always a little bit harder. But I'm going to say that's not something that's a result of the a poor aerodynamics thing. So yeah, I'm going to say thank you to the developer of this aircraft again for implementing a version of this aircraft that has touchscreens, because it's awesome for having a hands-free aircraft where I'm flying on pilot edge and I want to be able to fly, and while I'm flying a helicopter, which is already hard enough to fly, you absolutely can't be scrolling around in the cockpit with your mouse to tune a radio frequency. You just can't do that. You got to be able to be flying along and then set the trim so that you can be hands off on the cyclic stick, and then with your touchscreen go and tune your frequency and make your radio call. So that to me, being able to do everything touchscreen without the use of a mouse and keyboard in the flight simulator, flying a helicopter, that to me is hugely important for realism, and I don't think you have that ability with the other aircraft. You do have it. Right? I guess you would. No, because the other aircraft is it's not a 430 or a 650. It's definitely like some version of the 750. It's a touchscreen something or other. So we did not have the ability to tune the radios in that aircraft. So in terms of flying on Pilot Edge, I don't think I can use the other aircraft. I think I have to use this one. So huge thanks to the developer of this aircraft for enabling that level of realism in a helicopter in the simulator. Only thing that I ask that he does is make this panel touchscreen like the Asobo version. Excuse me. And then in the last video I made, the only other thing that I harped on was the fact that neither of these touchscreens would turn on, and I said I can't figure out how to turn them on. And thanks again to the developer of this mod, he reached out to me and said, you should check your 750 mod, which is completely separate from this aircraft. And then I realized I had yet to fly an aircraft with the 750, so I had never installed the 750 mod. So that was another mistake on my end, which now, thanks to his help, I have worked out. So, yeah, I think I'm going to be flying this helicopter a whole bunch, and I appreciate the developer and all his efforts putting it together. So, for those of you looking to put together a rig like this, I hope this information is helpful to you. I appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you in the next one. See ya.